Special call meeting specifically to discuss or to have public comment on the article titled Board of Commissioners of the Gilmer County Code, which I guess more plainly is the proposal for wage increases or raises for the post commissioners. So the floor is open at this time for anybody that would like to make a comment. Okay.
You're talking about the commissioner races, right?
Yes.
Hi, my name is DeVale Frady. I would direct this question, I guess, mostly at Carlene, because she says she supports the raise. The question I would propose is, can you justify the raise in the fact that how many total hours? We don't know how many hours you spend, and you're new at this, and maybe you don't know completely either. Dallas might enlighten us, but exactly what are you talking about? 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 10 hours a month? I mean, any idea? Does anybody have any idea of how much time is invested in this?
I appreciate that, DeVille. I have thought long and hard a lot about that, actually. And since I've started, I've actually kept record because this was under question of the raise. And I've kept documented hours of exactly how many hours I put in. And if you'd like to know, I'd be happy to share with you. This is now since I took office. And I have put in, not including yesterday's hours, which were about 5, and then today's, of course. But to date, it is, let me look at my 134 hours since I took office, which was the last week of December. So my average right now is about 20 hours a week, is what I see. And as I see, there's a big learning curve of, obviously I'm new to this position, I have a lot to learn. I'm going to trainings. I've also voluntarily offered to sit on things like the board, the chamber board, and a few other positions that I care a lot about. Because when I'm committed to something and I'm committed to doing this job and to serving this county for the next 4 years, I'll commit myself in areas that I feel like I can add value. So with that being said, and I don't mind, I asked David if it was appropriate to share with you the actual dollar amount that I've received to date for those hours. And actually, we'll get another check this Friday. I haven't gotten that one yet, but I included that amount. So for those 134 hours, I'll be paid $1,036.82, which comes to $7.74 per hour.
What's minimum wage?
7.25.
In order to comment, I'd like to
Yes, sir. We got to be able to get you on tape in case you deny it later.
So do you think that is just the learning curve for the beginning, since you're new at this? And Dallas, would you think that differs? And do you want to weigh into that? Do you think that those hours will continue through the course of anyone's service?
I really don't particularly want to weigh in, but I will. Those hours don't go down, let me tell you, because after you've been on the board for months and years, your name becomes known by more and more people people like to talk to you or see you or send emails to you or phone messages and so on. So the workload doesn't go down. Now there is a learning curve, I know, and you have to spend days and days in training, so you don't have a choice on those. But we still actually have requirements to go to continuing education every year. That's a statute or a requirement that we do. We'll be doing that in April of this year. So the workload is not going down. The difference between our role, though, and our chairman, Charlie has the role of being the CEO and the person running the county day to day and dealing with the details of the work that goes on and physically implementing the stuff that we as commissioners set up a budget for. So Charlie has this full-time and extra full-time job. I mean, it is, it's not fair to compare us doing, let's say, 10 hours to him doing 40 hours. It's more us doing 30 hours and he's doing 50 hours. It's not a particularly, you're not clocking in and clocking out. The difference though, we need to, I think the citizens don't quite understand the responsibility and the accountability that the post commissioners have, because we don't work with the employees every day. We don't come to the office every day. We don't have an office. I don't have a desk, and I don't need that. I can do that at my house. But our role is different. Our role is in terms of legislative work to create ordinances or do resolutions that set law. We are not responsible for enforcing that law. We are not, as post commissioners, we're not responsible for implementing that law directly, but we are responsible for that budget. We are responsible for the laws that we actually create, called resolutions or ordinances. We have that responsibility, and that is more of the weight of this job than the time we put in. I mean, you got to look at a lot of details, and Carlene and I and Charlie, we do. We spend a lot of time looking at details, and my binder gets full for every meeting, so it's a lot of details. But it's really the responsibilities we have more than the time we put in. You can't, I'm telling you, you cannot compensate Charlie enough to be chairman for what he has to do and the accountability and responsibility he has. And that's true for the post commissioners. It is a responsibility that no one really wants to take on. You can't put a dollar value on it necessarily. But my travel time alone, I probably spend 5 hours a week minimum just traveling to either go to the courthouse or to go to see a zoning place or to go to a meeting function. So even just travel time, I've never kept track of my miles, but I got a lot of miles on my vehicle.
And I've certainly seen this county in a new
and that's
way.
not compensated. We do not have compensation for that, for travel and meals and that as well. So there's other factors. I indicated that I wasn't in favor of it. It was not because it was not a deserved increase. That is nothing in my view of it. I have just said that given the timing and what we were working on and when this would actually go into effect, I just thought it was better to do it at a different time. But it will not go into effect probably until 2 years from now, when the next election occurs for commissioners. So it's not like it's got to be done immediately. I think it got blown out of proportion with the publicity and the social media and the things that occurred, and I think it was just a timing issue, and Travis brought that up, and rightly so. He had the right to do that and wanted to bring that up last year, and it just got mixed in and got blown out of proportion is the way I feel. Time. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure. And Carlene and I myself and others that have been in this position take it pretty serious. So I would just throw that out and leave it at that.
Blown out of proportion. One, I want to, I don't want to.
Would you state your name, please?
Brian Pritchard.
Okay.
I don't want to debate the hours. I don't want to do that. I don't want to question the hours you put in. But I want to stay focused on, this is a charter change. Okay, I want to bring us into focus. This is a change of the county charter. And in the change of the county charter, I want to say this is not that I'm in opposition to what you want to do, but it should not be taken lightly, changing the charter at any time you open the book to re-put something in. It should be taken as much time as possible to review before we change the charter. Now, that being said, because you brought up the hours and because you brought up different things, the charter has Mr. Paris as the CEO of the county. And that's the way our charter is written in Gilmer County. He is the CEO. He is in charge of the day-to-day operations. Our charter clearly defines the footprint of his responsibilities on a daily basis. For example, what has taken place recently in our, just say, fire and safety areas, the CEO of the county had full responsibility and legal authority to do things that he has done. That's in his day-to-day footprint. He is the only one in the county that has an office in the county, and those decisions are his. That being said, the post commissioners also have a defined footprint in the county. So there's two things here I just want you to take away, and I'm not saying this disrespectful to either one of you. Your hours are two things. One, if you actually follow what is designed for your position, are those your hours? Or are you going outside of the scope of your requirements? Now, I respect when you take your time, and I want you to know that. I respect when you take your time and go outside of the scope of your requirement. The scope of your requirement does not tell you, and if I'm wrong, correct me, the county attorney here, it does not tell you to volunteer. You use that yourself, volunteer for boards. Now, for one, the Chamber of Commerce, you volunteered to have yourself put on there. It is the Chamber of Commerce's charter that they have that, I can't pronounce that word, member? What's that?
Ex officio.
Thank you, okay? But it's their charter that says that, okay? It's not 100% required, I'm not debating that, and I understand the last member of the commission that was appointed to that did not attend the meetings, or very few. So if you go to the meetings, I understand that, but you're volunteering to do that. I listened to you volunteer for something yesterday. That is not in the footprint of the post commissioner's responsibilities. Now, as a citizen, I appreciate you go over and above, but the footprint of what you actually get paid for is what we're discussing. Now, Mr. Miller, you said zoning, okay? You said you go out and a lot of people call you and you travel and you don't get reimbursed for the miles on the zoning when you go check zoning. But realistically, in the post commissioner's responsibilities, that's not written for you to go check the zoning. The way the county is set up, the county set up a zoning board, and the county set up very clear guidelines on the zoning. And they do everything, and then you have people come to you after they have hearings and public hearings, and they go out and do that work, and they deliver you the information, okay, to make that decision. So as a post commissioner, I want to tell you, as a citizen, I appreciate you getting in your car and going and looking at zoning matters so you feel good with your vote. But as a post commissioner's footprint, that's not required of you. That's your decision to go do that and take your time. Now, that, I don't mean that disrespectful, because I know you put a lot of time in. So I have nothing against what you said, but I don't want to debate the hours. If you get into the actual hours of the scope of work of what the charter says you're required to do, there's some difference and there is some learning curve. So I understand, because Mr. Miller, I feel like I'm one of those phone calls from time to time that says, hey, do you have a minute, okay? So that being said, but that's not what I'm here to ask you tonight. You closed with saying this wouldn't even take effect for a couple of years. I'm asking you nicely to table this. Not say you don't want to do it, not say you don't want to go through it. But because the reality of this is, if you do this tonight, and then next month, Mr. Clark, is it two meetings? So actually, next month you can have a second meeting, and then the actual meeting, you could be voting, and this could be done next month, correct? So the reality is, you have a window of 3 months. And the only time this needs to be done to take effect is not, can't speak for them, me, I'm not here saying no to your request. I'm not saying no to your charter change as a taxpaying citizen in Gilmer County. I'm just saying that you just have to have this in place before qualifying. And that qualifying would be for your position first. So 3 months before your position's up for re-election, this could be done, second time be voted on, and it could be complete, and it could go to qualifying. This just needs to be done before qualifying, correct? So what you do tonight or before. So really what I'm asking you to do is not say, hey, don't do it. That's something you can always bring. You have that authority to do that. I'm just saying is, how about this commission take this year? Because you have it. You have plenty of time. Why don't you take this year? Why don't you see where we fiscally stand as a county? Why don't you see where our dollars and cents are as a county? Why don't you see where our SPLOST revenue is as a county? Why don't you go through your budget process this year as this commission, the 3 of you, you're a new commission, why don't the 3 of you go through your budget process? See where you can put the budget in place, see if the SPLOST is where it's at, see if you can alleviate a $500,000 off our taxes, and then say to the citizens, you know what, this position needs to have an increase. But why don't you wait this year and see where we are fiscally at? Now that being said, it doesn't change. I see other things. I mean, there's a 5 o'clock meeting today. There's a 5 o'clock meeting today that you tabled because you want some more review or some more time, and I heard that yesterday, so I don't want to go into detail on that. So there's no difference here. If you say tonight, okay, you know what, let's make an agreement that when is qualifying, like May or something like that, next year, if you say, you know what, this commission with Commissioner Ferguson and yourself and Mr. Miller, we have our SPLOST coming in, we may do better on SPLOST with the internet tax. We don't know yet. I don't know what that's coming in as, or if we're starting to see results. Let's go through the budget process, because there was a lot of concern last year on how the process went. I'm not being negative, but a lot of concern. Why don't you do that, and then maybe at the end of the year, you're able to say to the citizens, you know what, I want to return to $500,000. We got a workaround, and I don't want it fixed on that, but I just say, why not take this commission this year, look at where the county is fiscally, and then, because it doesn't affect the 3 of you tonight, it doesn't affect you next month, but it affects the citizens. And at no time do I ever want to come up here and say, but it's just a little bit of money. And I respect it's just a little bit. You're not asking for an enormous amount. I want the public to know this is not an enormous increase that you're asking for, okay? But with the current situation with our taxes, and the current situation with the county, anything right now that's just until you're able to return $1 to us, it's not just a little bit of money. I don't care if it's buying new cars, I don't care what it is. And I know you have to replace equipment, so I'm not up here browbeating over that. But I know it's just a little bit of money, but until we maybe can get $1 back, you know, a little bit of money is a little bit of money that in good conscience you shouldn't do right this second, and see how we are fiscally this year. So if you'd like to say something, you asked me a question, fine. If not, that's really all I have to say.
I do have a question for you, Brian, or more of a comment, I guess. I do want to make sure that we're looking down the same path, so to speak, on this, because you're mentioning SPLOST and the half meal. I assume that you're talking about the half meal on the bond.
Yes, sir.
Service, which is what we had discussed before. The money that we're talking about for this increase cannot come from SPLOST.
No, I know that. I understand that.
Okay, so that
No,
was one
I
point.
understand this. I don't mean to interrupt you, but for clarity, what you're saying here is not coming from that. It has to come from the general fund of.
Correct.
Right, I understand.
And the other thing, the other point that I want to make is, I know that and it seems to me at least that you're equating, do away with the half meal and then do this.
I would like to see that.
Well, a half meal is roughly $600,000.
Right.
And we're talking about 16,000.
Okay, but that's exactly what I just said. If you say it's just a little bit, you didn't say that.
What I'm saying is you can't equate a half meal with this.
No, I understand. I guess let me say this one more time, and tell me what you don't get about what I'm saying. All right.
Now that's not nice, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I apologize if that wasn't nice. I didn't mean to say it that way then. What I'm saying is, let me clarify. I apologize if that wasn't nice.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, all I'm saying is what you're doing tonight, nothing changes if you do it 3 months before qualifying for post one. That's all.
I agree with that.
That's really what I'm saying is, and you have a full year to see where the county stands fiscally. So when you come back 3 months before qualifying, and you add $16,000 to, not to one post commissioner, but the post commissioners total, and you add $16,000, it may be a different time in a year. So all I'm saying is, if you don't have a dollar now, you don't have a dollar now, and you shouldn't anticipate a dollar that you don't have. I guess that's what I'm saying. Don't anticipate a dollar that you don't have right now. Because realistically, you shouldn't be spending, if this took place next month, you shouldn't be spending $16,000. We don't have $16,000. So if you don't have a dollar, you don't have a dollar. I'm just asking not to say no to this. And I said last time, I guess my blowing it out of proportion last time, and I know that was very facetious and I apologize, but I felt that was directly at me, blowing it out of proportion. But my blowing it out of proportion was I did not want this to go through state legislation. I did not want legislators throughout the state to make this decision for us. That was my, I guess, argument last time. And then, if you remember, because I do have the video, I did say then, I'm not totally opposed to what you're wanting to do. I wanted you to bring it back to the citizens, and you are doing that. But where I started, first of all, I want to be clear, this is a charter change. This is a change to our county charter, okay? Shouldn't be taken lightly, and I'm not saying that you are. But it is like, why does this need to be here now? Let's look, and the SPLOST, where I get to the SPLOST is the revenues of the SPLOST, when I say that, is tied to not paying the post commissioners more money, but the revenue of the SPLOST is tied to whether there could be a possibility of alleviating the half mil. So that's where I bring up the SPLOST. If the SPLOST is strong enough, possibly strong enough, because the mill is to pay the bond, then the half mill is to pay the bond.
And I would agree that your comment is technically accurate as long as we separate that from the issue of the post commissioner's pay.
Oh, that's separated.
Okay.
I'm just saying on a total, that's separated. I understand where the post commissioner's pay comes from. It comes from the property tax. That goes back to the
I just want to make sure we're talking about two separate things here.
No, but I understand. The only thing I'm asking, in all due respect, and I apologize if I come across and said something that wasn't nice. Really, all I'm asking in this county is you're not changing anything, that what you're asking to do tonight and next month is you're asking to change the charter for post-commissioner pay. The only thing you have to do is have it in place before qualifying. You don't have to have it in place before next month.
Actually, I'm gonna give the qualifying fees are set in January, so it'd have to be in place by December. And since Dallas's term ends in December of 2021, it'd have to be, but see, your term ends next year, right, Dallas?
Yeah, I have this year, next year.
Yeah, so the qualifying, this legislation would have to be in place no later than December of this year. So
Okay, so that gives you gives you the year to do budgeting, it gives you the year to see fiscally where we're at. That's all I'm saying. You have till basically the end of the year to fiscally see where the county's at. That's all I'm saying.
I will say this, that if we use the timetable that you have in mind, if Dallas does hopefully decide to run again, it's going to put a great deal of pressure on him as being right up at election time and now advocating for an increase that he would get. So in my mind, far better to do it now before even any decisions are made about running or who's going to run or anything else, and put it in place. And if we use your timeline, it's going to become very personal for Dallas.
Well, that's what both of you may think, but as long as the qualifying is done, as long as this is done before qualifying, and as long as this is done and there's a notice to the public that the new qualifying fee is X and the new post-commissioner position pays X, then citizens in the county have every right to run against Mr. Miller and maybe knock him out of getting that pay raise. So I understand in theory what you're saying. It may look as though he's trying to get a pay raise, but at the same time,
well, they absolutely have their right. But don't you feel that if there are several candidates, and they usually are, some of those folks may not use that as a little ammunition against him?
I mean, that's politics.
Yeah, but it's politics that can be avoided by doing this now. But it's politics that can be avoided by doing this before there's any personal element to it.
I think you should maybe table it till this commission sees a little more into the year fiscally and the next budget hearing, the next budgets, and you're able to see financially where you're at before you add any more cost, even if it's $1 to the citizens in any way whatsoever.
I understand that.
All right, that's pretty much it. So I think I'd just like to see it tabled. At one time, and not one time that I've been up here did I actually say on record that I totally disagree with it. Not one time. I'm just saying, if you don't have $1 now, don't vote to spend $1 you don't have, and let's see how we're doing fiscally later in the year and bring it back in plenty of time to where it can be on the qualifying, and the next post-commissioners that run can take advantage of it and put it that way, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Any other comments? David, if there are no other comments, should we hold it open a little longer? Or should we...
It's been open for 35 minutes, so y'all.
Okay, if there are no other comments, then I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay. Last chance for comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.